Welcome back to Her Drive, the podcast where we explore the twists and turns and transformations of women on their journeys. I'm your host, Cynthia Cremblett. Today I'm joined by Arielle Loupos, the visionary founder of Flower Girl, a brand that's redefining what it means to bleed with confidence and care. Arielle began her career as a digital marketing consultant, but found herself frustrated by the toxic materials and lack of transparency in period products. With no background in product development or manufacturing, she dove headfirst into ethical sourcing, testing over 100 prototypes and learning the entire process from the ground up. What emerged is Flower Girl, sustainable, non-toxic period underwear made in LA with a true focus on comfort, clean materials, and empowerment. Beyond creating a better product, Ariel is on a mission to shift the conversation around menstruation from one of shame to one of reverence, reminding us that our cycles are sacred, intuitive, and deeply connected to our flow as women. Hello, Ariel. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. That was such a beautiful intro.
Yeah, well, you've got it going on, sister.
Thank you.
Well, amazing. First and foremost, I am a woman who long ago had this probably a similar feeling to you of like, what the F is going on with these products? And we were not raised with any awareness around the toxic chemicals within our panties to begin with, let alone our period products. So yeah, I want to dive into all of that with you and a bit of your personal story as well as we move through.
Yes, absolutely. It's really shocking how, the tampon was invented in 1931 by a man, and since then there's really been nobody who's like, "Oh, I wonder what's in these." And for the first time in 2024, a woman finally decided to take a look, and it's really shocking what she found.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, I did not know that about when it was invented. Not surprised it was invented by a man. Um, but what are some of the toxic chemicals and things that are in your traditional tampon or period pad?
It's so sad. They found a lot of different metals and lead in there was about 30 different brands that were tested, organic and non-organic, because tampons and pads are made with cotton, and cotton is grown with pesticides regardless of if it's organic or non-organic. And yeah, there were different toxins found, which has now prompted the FDA to take a look, like what's in these tampons. And that study is still ongoing, but it's like, I mean, come on, we're using these products in the most absorbent part of our bodies. Like, what do you think we're really going to find? And it's really sad to me because we see infertility on the rise, we see cancer on the rise, PMS. I've learned throughout this journey that we've really, as a society, normalized cramping, debilitating periods, really heavy flows, and none of that's normal. That is our body giving us a report card saying, hey, raising a flag, like something is not right here. So perhaps it's time we look into our products. And that's really what drove me to start creating this product. I was like, for me, tampons never energetically really sat right. Like I did not like the idea of shoving something in my vagina to not allow my flow to naturally exit my body. So then I was a pad girly, found my skin getting really irritated, really, uncomfortable, itchy by the end of the day. So then I moved on to period underwear. And while I felt like that was the best alternative for women, I still was like, I feel like I can make this better. Like, why is there not a more comfortable, a cuter option using natural fibers? So that's what really got me here. Oh, I'm so sorry. I cannot hear you.
Oh, I muted myself. Apologies, everybody. Um, perfect. So I resonate with so much of what you're saying in regards to um, the look, the feel of period panties, even the idea of long ago as a younger woman, like still a teenager, like placing a tampon into
Hmm.
into the vaginal canal. It was like, wait a minute, I'm not even, you know, being intimate. What is happening here? It's very
Yeah.
strange. Yeah. And I'm curious if you know any more of the history of the tampon and why it was created to begin with.
Yeah, yeah, it's actually super interesting. So, like I shared, it was invented in 1931, and this was during the Industrial Revolution time, right? When everyone kind of started mass producing a lot of these products. Plastic became a thing, right? So prior to that, there's actually a decent amount of research around how like periods were very sacred and special and women were like honored during this time, right? Because our period is like a life force. Like it's what allows us to create life. So prior to 1931, women were like respected during this time, honored, and then the industrial revolution comes around and marketing starts to become a thing, right? And like be hygienic and cover it up. Here's like a band-aid solution for this problem. Like it's went around the same time that bleach was like a big thing in douching, and we just fragrances like having scents to also disguise this. It was just began to be looked at as like a bad thing, and it's really interesting to me that's when the shift really started happening, and also super interesting that we've allowed it to kind of carry until up until recently, and having fragrances and a lot of these products. Like fragrance is one of the biggest hormone disruptors that women we can use, like actual perfume fragrances and then fragrance in our products. Like that to me is like a huge no no.
Yeah.
So that's the history as far as, from what I've researched.
Yeah, it's so intriguing to me, and I'd love to dive into kind of the shame aspect a little bit later.
Yeah.
But it's so curious to see how very quickly the way in which we look at ourselves can shift,
Yeah.
and that comes from the genius of marketing.
Crazy. Yeah. Around the same time, like with our food and everything, there's eat this is good for you. And it's like, no, that stuff it was poison.
Right, right. I even think about razors, right? Like razors, women weren't shaving our
Yeah.
underarms, our legs, our pubic areas, or lasering, obviously, and everyone's lasering now.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just so interesting now that if someone sees a woman who has like hairy armpits, at least in the United States, they're like, oh, and they like, oh, you're like a crunchy hippie girl. I'm like, well, no, that was just marketing. They weren't making enough money selling as much money as they wanted,
Right.
uh, selling razors to men for their faces. So they started to market to women who at the time were like covered up, didn't
Yeah.
even make sense to shave.
Yeah. Yeah. Of
Yeah.
course.
So intriguing that was happening.
Yeah.
So I would love to dive a bit into your journey here. So you were discovering that you were not in alignment with tampons, tried pads. That oh my. Okay, baby.
I love that.
Oh man, they are on one today.
How
Please.
many do you have?
I have two. Sorry everyone for the noise. I like to keep this like life noise going on.
Yes.
But yes, I have two, and they only met about a month ago, so they're still getting used to
Oh,
each other.
oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but normally they're pretty quiet when I'm doing my thing.
I'm just glad it's your cats and not my dog, who's normally like throwing a fit anytime anyone else uses the courtyard.
Oh, oh, it's so funny. These babies, they're so cute to
Yeah,
me.
so
Yeah,
territorial.
exactly, exactly. So um, pads are not working for you, and then you're exploring the period underwear that are on the market, and it seems like more and more keep popping up. But discovered,
Yeah,
hey, I can I can do this better, or this can be done better. So would love to know the beginning of that process, and how you started to work through all the different prototypes and
yeah.
figuring out what is actually ethical to me and my core values.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, like I shared, I had been using the products and they were just so bulky, uncomfortable. They still felt like wet. And as I started learning more about textiles, I was like, okay, there's a difference between natural and synthetic fibers, which is also something I feel like as a society, we're not really taught. We're, consumers, we buy whatever, which my hypothesis with this brand is that consumer behavior is shifting, or at least I hope it is. Like my consumer behavior is shifting as I learn about, I was never a fan of fast fashion, but how that type of clothing is produced is oftentimes using chemicals or with things like polyester, gasoline. So that when we're wearing that against our skin and we wonder why we are incurring like rashes and like getting sick, like it's because I genuinely believe it's because of the products that we're using, the clothing that we're wearing. So I started to really research like what other brands were using in their products. And a lot of it was still synthetic materials. So I made it a mission with this brand to use natural fibers. I learned a lot about Tencel Model. It's made from trees. It's very breathable. It's very soft. When people first touch this product, they're like, wow, I like can't believe how soft it is. And then the gusset, which is the crotch area of the underwear, is composed of three different layers. A top layer that is designed to keep you cool and dry, a middle absorbent layer, and then a bottom waterproof layer to keep your flow essentially in the underwear. And that's how period underwear works. It allows you to free bleed into it. With this composition of the three layers, it's really incredible. And it was really important to me that the fabric be tested free from the forever chemicals that we unfortunately find in a lot of our conventional period products, as well as conventional underwear. I am seeing a lot of like new brands emerge in the underwear space, and it makes me happy to see that we as consumers are now thinking like what we wear down there is important.
It's so beautiful. I am fully on board with you. I think so many things are shifting within our society, definitely within consumerism,
Yeah,
and the natural fiber movement is definitely alive in my landscape. So
me too.
why not focus on your most intimate space? Begin
Right.
there. I know in the male market they have natural fiber underwear for
Yeah.
them. It's happening for us, not just with period underwear, but just your standard panties.
Yeah.
Going out from there, I think it's more approachable to replace your intimates first,
Yeah.
and then work on how can I start wearing these other natural fibers in my daily life. And I think it's and still have a fun wardrobe, especially for us women.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what were some of the challenges that you were faced with while testing your prototypes, and how did you keep going through all of that?
Yeah, it was a long process. I was in product development for 2 years, but it was fun because during that time I was learning. Am fortunate to live in Los Angeles and I wanted to take advantage of that when producing a product. So I drove around to different manufacturers. I met with different production companies. I went to textile shows to really like touch and learn about fabric. People would connect me with or friends would connect me with people, and it was a lot of like connection. So um I ordered a lot of fabric. I ordered a lot of fabric that I didn't end up using, that I didn't end up liking, because as I kept learning about textiles, I was like, I want to make this better. I want to have the best possible marketing message to come out with, to launch with. So I made for like each of my styles, like 5 different samples. My manufacturer said to me at one point, he's like, I've never worked with someone who's made so many samples, but perfecting the fit was really important to me. And then, I kept finding better and better fabric. And the thing about product development is if you make a sample using one type of fabric, you can't go into a full production run with that fabric because it could lay differently, depending on if it's like stretchier. It would just be a huge risk to go into production with a new fabric. So I had to keep making samples of the body, and then when it came to the pads, the absorbent part, the crotch, I made like 100 different iterations of the pad, and every time I would get my period over the course of like 2 years, I was like, oh my god, I need to like make a new sample of this pad because I want to test it, and I want to see how it feels, and I want to see how it absorbs and how much it can take. So that was a really fun learning process. It got to the point because making samples is quite expensive. So it got to the point with the crotch area that I was like cutting up different strips of fabric and laying it in my underwear to try to like to just test it. So it was a really fun 2 years, and having to like always be on. If I was traveling, I was carrying like all of this fabric with me to like test, because I'm like, I have to utilize while I'm on my period.
Yeah, gosh, that's such an interesting point to bring in. It's not as if you can just try them any old day. It actually needs to be
Right.
for.
Yeah. And I wanted to test it.
Mm.
Yeah, using, my actual flow, which another interesting point that I learned through this process was a lot of female menstrual products are not tested using actual blood. Like it's tested using water, some sort of solution. So I found that really interesting too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, did not know that. How
Yeah.
intriguing.
Yeah. Of
Oh
course.
my gosh, as a woman, I have like low grade angry.
We
Um,
really get like the shit end of the stick when it comes to, in our bodies. Like we were not used in a lot of medical research until years ago. Like a lot of studies that are done on the male body.
right, right, and because of our hormonal fluctuations, right, it's just too hard to figure this out. But again, there's shifting happening. There's funding going on. There's
Yes.
research on females specifically, and I am
Yes.
really hopeful for 50% of the population
Me
moving
as
forward.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. It sounds like quite a journey for you. And I'm curious if there's anything you learned about yourself during that period.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I will say, I feel like anyone who like goes and embarks on starting a business, it is like the most spiritual journey you could ever go on. And I'm a very like spiritual woo woo witchy woman. Like I love like Chinese medicine, old Western. So this has definitely been like the craziest like journey. And what have I learned? I I feel like for me, like working for other people was never really an option. Like I always like wanted to do something of my own. Um and yeah, so just this feels like there's a greater mission behind it. The ultimate goal with the company is to like, how can I make this more mission driven? Like that's always in the back of my head. So just continuing to learn and like doing like a little bit every day, right? Like taking a step towards like creating the business. It's like truly a passion project. So I've learned, most importantly, like who you surround yourself with is really important. It's really important to be surrounded by like-minded individuals who are also like on a similar journey, because you get a lot of questions from people in your life, like, why are you doing this? Or just who friends who you realize like maybe weren't necessarily friends or as supportive throughout this journey. So lots of lessons. Yeah.
Yeah, so interesting to hear that the support structure shifts, or you see who's your ride or die, so to speak.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's just the journey of life, no matter what, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, you were working in marketing right before this. So,
I
how have
was.
those skills
Yeah.
aided
I joke that I naively went into product development because I was like, I can put a website together. I can set up email marketing, social media marketing, like tell a story, like no problem. And I'm really glad I was naive about the product development side and had the skills to get a website up and running, because I was so excited to do all of that part of the work that when it took me 2 years to like create the physical product, I was like, oh, finally, like I can get to the skill set that I can actually like utilize. So, yeah, I'm so grateful that I stumbled into e-commerce 10 years ago as my first job. And, at the time it was like, what the heck is online shopping? Like a lot of these fashion brands had such a big retail footprint, but I was like, I kind of feel like this internet's going to become something. So, I was fortunate to evolve with the industry as it was. And I mean, it's an ever evolving space, e-commerce and tech, and now with AI and everything. Um, so I was just able to like constantly learn and utilize all of those skills to help me launch this brand.
Mm. Yes, I mean, amen. And I love that you said I naively, I don't know if it was fell
Yeah,
into.
all of it. Went
Yeah,
into, fell into, yeah.
right. Naively, what you definitely like walked right into it because I feel like so many times in the journeys I've gone on, had I known what it was going to take and all the
Yeah,
steps and processes and the,
yeah,
it's not, you think, oh, something's going to take 6 months. It's like, oh, wait, 2 years have gone past.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, to create a garment is so complex and so compartmentalized. There's so many steps that go into it that, again, I'm not someone who ever took my clothing for granted, but now I have such a new appreciation for it. Just
Yeah, definitely. It's so funny. I'm currently getting ready to go to Burning Man and am
remains.
sewing most of my outfits. And I had planned to like spend months doing that. And then months turned into, oh, you have like a week and a half. And just in like making fun little costume
Yeah,
things is very tedious to do it at a high level and do it right. And I recognize, oh, I'm going to the desert where it's going to be covered in dust. And, I'll come back and I'll wash it and I'll wear it for parties every once in a while, right?
yeah,
But to create a branded product that people are going to be assessing during a critical time in their menstrual cycle is vital. So I just imagine like my experience of all my sewing experience times like tenfold in intensity.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And, I'm proud to produce in LA and I'm proud that I found a manufacturer who was willing to work with me because I recognize why so many products now are made overseas. And it's truly because America doesn't really have the infrastructure to create a lot of quality product at scale the way other countries do. But like I said, my manufacturer, he bought like new parts for his sewing machine because yeah, I'm not just making a t-shirt, I'm making very intimate underwear that's very technical that has to work and there's a lot that goes into it. So that in itself was a journey. I started with one manufacturer, it didn't work out. The samples weren't great. I had to find a new manufacturer. So there was a lot of that going on too in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any spidey senses that the manufacturing space might shift a little bit, or will most companies continue to manufacture abroad?
I do. I do feel like, again, my hypothesis with this brand is that people will support or do like to support product made in America. So as that preference increases, my hope is that yeah, we get more infrastructure here. Um, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, I'm curious as far as going into intuition and a woman's natural flow.
Yeah.
How can we as women become aware of ourselves during this time and start to generate better period care so we can go back into holding ourselves in the tenderness that we may have once experienced in an aversion of the red tent?
Yeah, this is huge because I think there's so much opportunity for women here. Something that I learned throughout this journey, which is crazy because it's not something we're taught as little girls when we first get our periods, is that we are cyclical beings, meaning we operate on a 28-day cycle. Our hormones do. Whereas, men's hormones operate on a 24-hour cycle, which is funny enough how our society is built around the 24-hour day. So just knowing that we operate on a 28-day cycle, we go through four different phases. Learning how to optimize our life during those four different phases, I think, is huge for women. Again, it's something I only recently learned about these past few years. And I'm like, I wish that I had this knowledge as a young girl and even going through school and college to understand like why some weeks I felt incredible and energetic and creative and fresh and social. But then there were other weeks that I was like, I don't want to get out of bed today. I don't want to talk to anyone. And just understanding this cycle has actually, I feel like, allowed me to even like come to more, like I don't feel like I experience as extreme of like swings between weeks because I'm like I'm now optimizing my life around my cycles. So we operate in four different phases: our menstrual cycle, follicular, ovulatory, and luteal. And again, like we should be, you know, scheduling our calendars differently during these weeks. We should be working out differently. We should be eating differently. So when you have a general understanding, it's called cycle syncing. I think that it just will be, it's been a game changer for me. So I have no doubt that if women can start to recognize this and optimize their life for it, it will be um, amazing for their lives as well.
Oh, I totally agree. Any type of awareness, I think at least awareness of where there is dysfunction and awareness of how it can be shifted allows us all to just take a little bite at a time.
Yeah,
What a beautiful point to bring up how life is built around the 24-hour clock, right? And 12 months rather than 13, right?
yeah,
It's a strange thing that has occurred.
totally.
Yeah, most definitely. But I know for some women it might be a little bit intimidating. Like, what do you mean? Like syncing up with my? How do I know that like? How do I know which cycle I'm in? How do I know what food to eat? What would be
Right.
some tips for you from you to them?
Yeah, and start slow because I recognize it is intimidating or it can be. And especially when we as women are expected to show up on this 24-hour circadian rhythm, like go to work from 9 to 5 and operate, in our masculine a lot of the time. So I recommend starting with just understanding your calendars, right? So your menstrual phase when we're bleeding, when we're having our periods, typically is anywhere from day 0 to 6, right? 1 through 5, however you want to look at it. And again, I'm saying all of this as a general guide because I recognize women, our bodies are all so different. So tracking your menstrual cycle. From there, tracking your follicular, which then goes in from about days 6 to 13, ovulation, days 14 to 16, and then luteal is about days 17 to 28. Just having a general understanding and starting there of like, I'm in this week can be so empowering because we need different things during different times, and knowing like I'm okay to have a lot of energy, do heavy lifting, for example, in my follicular phase, but then recognizing come luteal, I want to rest, and like accepting, like listening to our bodies, I think is really important for women. Starting there, just listening to what your body needs and respecting that.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I love that you have a brand that it also has this mission as
Yeah.
well, like bringing us into a greater level of homeostasis
Yes.
within our cycles.
Absolutely. Sell it. I feel like the underwear was like the entry point to, again, like the bigger mission of like what I want this brand to be. And starting with this education and just getting women informed is huge for me because, we're not taught this as little girls.
Yeah. And if you could rewrite the standard period talk that we usually get, what would you say?
I would literally start with like what everything I just outlined, like teaching girls, like we are cyclical beings. Our hormones typically go through a 28-day cycle, 4 different phases. And knowing that, listen to your body, and like we don't always need to be working at the same output every single day.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I
I
would
think that's
mention.
a really beautiful outline of that talk. And yeah, I feel like it's just so watered down. It's like here you have your period, you might get some cramping, take these pills. At least that's what that was the language when I was growing up. You
Yeah,
might get cravings, like, and then they're pitching you're craving like sugary, unhealthy um, foods, right, and some salty stuff. It's like, well,
yeah,
what is your body actually saying in that period of time?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if Flower Girl was a woman, how would you describe her personality?
Ooh, empowering.
Mm.
The first word that just like popped into mind. Confident and secure in herself. And I mean that to say like someone who can say no, somebody who can rest and like just listen to their body, going back to like respecting like what comes up for you, and secure enough to be like, I need rest today. It's a no from me.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing. You have a similar personality and persona, yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great. I feel like we can create these things because it's manifesting outside from within us and emerging into the third dimension, right?
Yeah.
Because you hold those values and you hold those characteristics.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Mm. I'm curious if you have any favorite like self-care indulgences while you're bleeding.
Oh, yes. Honestly, it's going back to saying no and respecting like when I need rest. And I feel like that's also something I learned later in life. It's like it's okay to like not go to the function and
Yeah.
like to not have to like show up as your best self all the time. So truly like resting and relaxing is my ultimate self-care tip.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, I think depletion happens very, very commonly and easily because we're
Yeah.
not honoring the cycles that we're in.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And if you could go back in time and give a younger you some words of wisdom, to what age would you go and what would you say?
I would go back to that. I don't know the exact age when I got my cycle, but I remember, the product that I was given was a tampon. And I remember not putting it in right and walking around and feeling like this thing inside of me. And it was so uncomfortable. And I wish that I had a product like this at that time. And I would say, wear this like what you're going through is like an incredible sacred time. This is the force that allows us to create life, and respect like what your body is going through, and just having a product to allow it to flow out naturally would have, I think, been so monumental.
Oh, yeah, I feel that. I feel that
Yeah.
deeply. And what do you think your younger self thinks of you now building this brand that celebrates menstruation?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if she would have been like, this is what we're doing. But, I always wanted to be a teacher, honestly. Like when I was growing up, I'm like, that I think yeah, I wanted to be a teacher. And so I feel like I'm able to do, or I'm coming into that woman now and kind of like sharing this knowledge. I hope that it's informative for women and like kind of like teaching them about our cycles. So I think she would have been proud and happy that this is what we're doing.
Yeah, beautiful. And now I want to talk about the designs a little bit. So you have quite a few designs, and I believe I saw one that has a really cute flower cut out. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the staple. That was the first idea go to market product. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like many times when people think about period underwear, maybe just myself, I'm like, oh, they're like kind of frumpy, they're
Yes.
uncomfortable, like just, but your
Yeah.
designs are kind of nice.
Thank you. Again, launching this brand before it was like the sustainable message and before I really understood synthetic versus natural fibers, the message that I wanted to come to market with was I wanted to create like sexy, cute products. I was like, why can't our period underwear be cute or I like have options like regular underwear? So that was the first design. And I've always tried to keep it cute. I'm really proud of how the thong turned out. The cut is amazing. Like, and I bought a lot of different products, underwear, prior to creating my own because I wanted to see the fit. I wanted to see how it like fit our bodies and how cute it actually was. And I'm really proud of where we landed with the fit and the cut for a lot of these products.
Yeah, that's great. And you're not just doing period underwear either.
No.
You've branched out. So can we talk about all these different things?
Yes, but yeah. So I have matching tanks. So literally any pair of underwear you see on the site can come as a set. That was, I talked to a lot of founders and I had a couple friends who had e-commerce businesses and they said, do a matching tank, like offer some more assortment. People like sets. So I took that advice and, yeah, whether you go with the, thong or I've since launched new boxers and briefs using the tencel material because I was getting such amazing feedback on the thong. And then, feedback also from women who are like, I don't like to sleep in thongs. I don't like to sleep in thongs. So I totally get it. So we've iterated. I've got a lot of styles up right now. Arguably, maybe even too many because people are like, "Tell me about the products." I'm like, "There's a lot to talk about there." And then, so funny, just going back to the flower brief real quick. My first idea also when launching this product was underwear you can wear on and off your period. So the briefs that are like the flower cutout, which are separate from the tensile briefs, um, that has a built-in pad holder. So I have reusable pads on the site. The reusable pads are made with the same materials that you'll find in the built-in underwear. So the reusable pads you can put them in the underwear when you're on your period, and you can take it out when you're off your period. And that was my very first idea with like what I went into manufacturing. So underwear you can wear on or off your period, which I think is pretty clever. And it's amazing. And that particular underwear is great for heavier days, right? So it comes with a single and double layer pad. The double layer is great for heavier. Now my Tencel styles, I do want to share. Those are great for light to moderate flows. So great for like your pre or post heavy days. And then my recommendation with period underwear too is always try it out and like get comfortable with it first. I'm always shocked to hear women are like, "What's period underwear?" Like I've never tried that, and I think I'm so like inundated in this process that I just assume everybody knows what it is. But I would recommend the tensile styles for anybody who's curious and wants to like give it a go.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it so much. Well, it sounds like you have not just innovated in one way, but in multiple ways, and it's really great to see a brand that is so multidimensional. It's
Thank
really
you.
really fun. Hmm.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and as you look towards the future, what do you foresee happening?
Yeah, going back to getting Flower Girl as like a mission driven company, that's the ultimate goal, because something that's like close to my heart is how women all over the globe in a lot of countries suffer when they're on their periods because they don't have the proper products to allow them to go about living their lives. So long term, I feel in my heart that this will be a mission driven company. However, I can tie that in. That's the ultimate goal.
I love it. I love it so much. Well, Ariel, would just like to open up the floor. If there's anything we've not touched on, please, it's your time to share all of that. Mhm.
Yeah, I so appreciate you sharing your space and allowing me to talk about the product all the way to cycle syncing. And just one additional thing to touch on with that is like, as an intuitive woman, genuinely believe we are all into such intuitive beings, and our society nowadays is so noisy, it's so distracting. We're so addicted to our phones. I'll admit, I feel like in this day and age, you got to build a brand on social media. So I myself can recognize at times when I'm addicted to my phone. And going back to like what values I want to bring about with this brand is, in addition to understanding cycle syncing, it's like going back to like the rest piece is so important to me, and like just telling women like to get in touch with ourselves, because when we do, we are so incredibly powerful. We are again such intuitive beings that I think that oftentimes we hold a lot of answers within ourselves, answers to questions that I know a lot of us might be like searching for. So when we allow ourselves the space to sit and rest and really tune in with our bodies, um, we're unstoppable. We get so many downloads, and I would love to just like leave women with that piece of advice.
I hear you. I hear you loud and proud. Yeah, when I stopped running and rushing and doing
Yeah,
all of the everything's, that's when a lot of downloads, as you said, started to
yeah,
come through. And I
yeah,
fully agree with you that we all are connected. It's just clearing out the
yeah,
noise, clearing out the distraction, clearing out the stickiness in our fields, and embracing the silence so we can hear.
yeah, yeah, totally.
Beautiful. Well, on that note, thank you so much for being here. Really love hearing about your journey and this amazing line that you've created.
Thank you so much for sharing your space with me. It was an honor.
Beautiful. And this lastly, before we go, where can everyone find you and your work?
Yes. So I am on Instagram at flowergirl.co with a little underscore at the end. The website is flowergirl.co. You can DM me. You can reach out to me on the website. There's a contact form. If you do all of that, you are directly talking to me. I'm so happy to answer any additional questions anyone might have about how exactly the product works. Or if you want to talk about cycles or your cycle just in general, always happy to chat.
Amazing. Well, thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thanks everyone for tuning in to this episode of Her Drive. I invite you to check out the show notes where you can follow the links to Ariel's amazing product line, Flower Girl, and please share this with others who you think's heart and head would glean some wisdom and nourishment from what Ariel has shared today. And as always, inviting you into leaving a review that helps people know that this is an episode worth their time. And I guess until we see you again, bye, y'all.